So here we are on the ground at Inverness Airport, getting ready to complete pre-flight checks ahead of the final leg of the FS Academy Navigator series Highlander bush trip. This is going to be from Inverness to Oban. So the weather at the moment is nice for VFR, however it is going to close in around Oban around midday, so we want to get the flight in and completed before the weather gets towards a more marginal VFR, if not IFR conditions. If that happens, we'd need to delay the flight by about maybe 4 or 5 hours until about 3 p.m. So let's start the checks. Just going to pull up the pilot's operating handbook. Okay, so first and foremost, let's remove pitot cover and so just turn on the battery, and going to need to get avionics on. Just so that I can turn on ADF. Probably need bus 2 for that. There we go. So wheel chocks off, tie downs off, pitot cover removed, and then cowl plugs removed as well. So now that that's done, power back off so we don't drain down the battery. Okay, so airplane weight, let's just recheck it. So we need about 111 pounds for this flight, and I'm going to put in about 114. So where are we? There we go, 114. Check. Let's get VSR open. Leave it over here so it's out of the way. Okay. Oops, where's it gone? Just turned it off. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. So that's VSR done. Okay. So that's the aircraft weight and balance has been checked. Parking brake is set. Control wheel lock is removed. Ignition switch is off. Avionics master is off. Okay, so master switch can now come back on. Check the fuel quantity. Low fuel annunciator is extinguished. Okay, avionics master 1, come on to check for the avionics fan. And bus 2. Check. Static air pressure valve is pushed in the off position. Annunciator panel, let's test. Check. Okay, fuel selector valve to both. Fuel shutoff valve pushed in the on position. Extend flaps. check. Pitot key can come on. And we will simulate that we walk out, and within 30 seconds it is warm to the touch. Pitot off, master power off. Okay. Elevator trim, set it for takeoff. Check. Baggage door is checked and locked. Autopilot static source opening, check for any blockages, check. Rudder gas lock, remove. Tail tie down, remove. Control surfaces. Free and correct. Trim tab checked, antennas checked, aileron and flaps checked, wing tie downs disconnected, main wheel tie checked, fuel tank sump checked, nose fuel strainer drained has been checked. Oops, tripped over my words there. Engine oil was checked, propeller and spinner was checked, nose wheel strut and tyre was checked, and the left static source opening was checked. That was the left wing checks we completed previously. Similar for right. So pre-flight inspection complete, passenger briefing. So here we are, final leg of the Scottish Highlands Navigator series from FS Academy's bush trip. We're sat on the ramp at Inverness, Echo Golf Papa Echo, airfield elevation of 31 feet. Longest runway here is 6,100 feet, so plenty of runway for us to take off in our Cessna 172. And the transition altitude is 3,000 feet. We're going to depart on a track of 237 degrees, climbing towards 4,300 feet. It's a 4-minute track to our first visual reference point, the city of Inverness. From there, it'll be a turn slightly left onto a track of 218 degrees for 3 minutes to our second visual reference point, Dorries, which is right at the shores of Loch Ness. From there, we're going to then track the bank and just take consideration of whether or not the winds are coming from our left or our right, maintaining that 4,500 feet to our next visual reference point of Fort Augustus. This is a 9-minute leg. From Fort Augustus, we'll then continue on to the next visual reference point, being Fort William. Fort William is a track of 220 degrees and a length of approximately 12 minutes. From Fort William, we'll then go on to our next visual reference point, which is Corran Point, maintaining that 4,500 feet of altitude. The track is 223 degrees, but it's a shorter track at only 4 minutes this time. Corran Point, we're then going to head on to the next reference point on our trip, which is Castle Stalker. It sits on the lefternmost of 3 small islands as we approach it, and it's going to be our final visual reference point before we start descending and turning towards Oban Airport. It's a track of about 5 minutes. It's a leg of about 5 minutes, and we'll be tracking on 212 degrees. And then that should take us into Oban Airport, Echo Golf, Echo Oscar. And we'll be turning left onto a track of 187 degrees. It's going to be about a 4-minute leg, so we should see the airport quite soon after we turn over Castle Stalker. So for this flight, we will be departing, let me just runway 23 from Inverness. Get the flight log back. So actually we're going to be departing runway 11. Wind has changed. So we're going to part in runway 11, and along this route we will maintain an altitude of at least 4,500 feet so that we have subsequent altitude for any clearance of the mountains to our left and to our right, but equally so that we have enough altitude in hand in the event of engine failure or any other major failure that should cause us to need to put the aircraft down. Along the route, from memory, there is less opportunity to find land that we can put the plane down on our right, so we'll be looking for fields or roads, anything that we can see along the left hand side of the valley for our final fixed turn into Oban, which I think, based on today's weather, we will be aiming for runway, let's see, runway 19. Okay, so we'll keep an eye out for any other VFR traffic that's en route. We shouldn't have any problems. We have the pilot operating handbook on board, fire extinguishers on board. If for any reason there are any issues as we taxi out, we'll then abort the takeoff, exit the aircraft safely. If there's a fire, we'll turn the tail into the wind so that any smoke or flames are blown away from the cabin. We'll shut down engine, ignition off, cut fuel, but we'll increase the throttle to max. But we shouldn't have any problems, we should be fine. Let's crack on with the rest of our checklist. So passenger briefing complete, seats and seat belts are adjusted and locked, so I will do the VR headset. Brakes we will test before we taxi out. Circuit breakers are all in, electrical equipment is all off. Avionics master switch is off, fuel selector is set to both, fuel shuttle valve is pushed in the on position. Avionics circuit breakers, bus 1, bus 2, are both in. Just before start, checklist complete. So, let's open the throttle to 1/4 of an inch. Mixture to idle cutoff. Clear prop. There's no one else on the fuel box. Okay, master switch can come on. Turn on the beacon. Okay. Auxiliary fuel pump come on. We'll then increase mixture to full rich and watch for the fuel flow. Let's move the throttle forward a bit more. There we go. Okay, so there. Let's remove the throttle. Okay, so that's checked, so the master pump can come off. And fuel mixture can come back to cut off. Okay, so now let's attempt the start. So try that one more time. And once more. Okay, give it a moment. So we'll try that again. So let's give it 30 seconds. Let's make sure that we haven't flooded the engine. Okay, let's try that one more time. There we go. Mixture can now come to full rich. Check the oil pressure. It's in the green. Temps green. Can now turn on navigation lights. Turn on avionics. Radios. Track the flaps. Okay. Let's just check to make sure I haven't missed anything. Let's turn on the alternator so we don't forget. Check the battery is charged. Let's let the GPS align. So, just confirming that the CDI, left CDI, is half left, and on nav 2, it's half left. The flag is out of view. Vertical CDI, so that's lateral, I should have said not left, is half up. Got the 2 flags. Okay, checked. Our message, it's going to say set course at 226, so I head in 226, it's already set at 226. Searching for satellites so that it align. Whilst it's doing that, let's set radio to tower 118405. And we'll monitor Unicom on Com2. Check to see if we have any ATC online. No, we don't. Okay. So now let's set there we go. Digital CDI there, and vertical or top up. On the 530. Okay, so that's done. So let me just check our route to taxi. We're going to have to backtrack the runway here in Inverness. We are currently fuel box on the north apron west side. we're going to be going from runway 11, so let me just take a look. Okay, so we'll actually be able to taxi straight to the head of runway 11. It's a pretty straight route. Okay, perfect. So that's radars checked. Let's put the transponder to standby. Not altitude reporting as it's at the moment. Okay. Check. Okay. So that's the before takeoff checklist to come next. So before that, let's move away from the fuel box. So check the area is clear. Let's move the mixture back a bit. So let's get it to a leaner flow after taxiing. To settle down. Okay, I'm still fluctuating a bit too much. There we go. Okay, so release the brakes. Turn on the taxi lights. And we will stop here and do our run up. Parking brake. Set. Okay. So parking brake is set, passenger seat backs in the most upright position, seat belts and seats checked secure, cabin doors checked, locked and secured, flight controls free. And correct. Okay. Fuel quantity checked. Mixture will set to rich. Fuel selector valve is checked and is set to both. Throttle comes forward to 1800. We'll check the vacuum. Good. Oil temps and pressures look good. Fuel flow good. Exhaust gas temperature good. Okay. So magneto. Let's have a look at the RPM. Okay. don't accidentally turn off the ignition. So set magnetos back to both. No enunciators illuminated other than the volts, but that will go once we get the RPM up. The low voltage will go. Okay, so throttle back to 1100. Okay, check. Okay, so strobes. Let's put them on now so we don't forget. Put the landing lights on. Okay, radios and avionics, we checked, they're set. Let's turn on. Transponder. Okay, we won't put its altitude reporting just yet. Need to remember to do that as we cross onto the runway threshold. And elevator trim is set for takeoff, wing flaps 10 degrees for takeoff. Okay, so let's update briefing and log. So we're scheduled for a 10:30 out time, and we're bang on that. 10:30 out, and then off at 10:50. We're going to get ahead of that. Okay, so parking brake. Okay, the right controller's not responding. It's fine. Parking brake release. Going to set transponder to altitude reporting. Okay, so Inverness traffic Golf Bravo Echo Lima Victor taxiing to runway 11. VFR departure to the west. There's another aircraft taxiing, so we need to keep an eye out for them. The windsock says it should be 2-3. So or maybe 0.5. Yeah, definitely looks like it should be maybe runway 23. That traffic's crossing. That's clear. So we'll line up. Just need to be conscious of that crosswind on takeoff. Okay, so mixture full rich. Throttle fully open. Release the brakes. Bit of aileron to counteract the crosswind. Okay, airspeed's active. 60 knots. Airborne. We go landing gear up, although this is fixed tricycle, so we don't have landing gear that can retract, but just getting into the habit. Okay. And then we will do a right turn, 237. Off time 10:40. Just make a note. Inverness traffic, Golf Bravo, Echo Lima Victor. Leaving the circuit to the west, 1,700 feet. Okay. Wings become level. This track is only 4 minutes, so 10:45. Retract flaps. Look at that view. Beautiful. Pull the mixture back slightly. Throttles back slightly. Okay, and that's our visual reference point right there on the nose, Inverness. And now the low voltage annunciator is extinguished. Continue our climb. And there you can see Loch Ness, 11 o'clock. Our next reference point. So 10:42, we're about to pass over Inverness. As we go down through the lock, need to be conscious of winds as they come across the crest of the peaks either side. Need to be conscious of which is the leeward side so that we don't end up in downdrafts. Want enough altitude so that we can safely put down and glide if we need to, if we have a power out situation. Let's close out like that. But can't go too high as we fly up into the cloud cover. but this is beautiful weather. Beautiful views. I love flying around this part of the British Isles in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Love the contrasting lights. Put the cursor there. Keeps moving around. I like the contrasting light. The RTX4090 really does a brilliant job with ray tracing. But also the vegetation is just, yeah, I love it. So 1044, and we are overhead in Inverness, so right on track. Now technically we need to turn onto a track of 218 from here to Dorries, which is the next visual reference point, but it's right there, we can see it. Loch Ness Beach. But this leg of the bush trip is pretty easy to fly visually. It's just follow the loch, and then from there, once we get to like Fort Augustus and the leg to Fort William, again follow the next loch all the way down to Doran Point, which is, I think we're gonna level off here. It's getting a bit hazy at this level. No, we can keep going. Yeah, get to Corran Point, and then from there it's just looking out for Castle Stalker, where we'll start our descent, and that's our final fix before we turn 187 degrees inbound to Oban. Nose is twitching. So look at that. What a view. So we're at like 3,400 feet. Plenty of opportunities for a safe glide and land off to our left. Less so on the right. Lots of trees. It's just, we'd have to make it all the way across that ridge to the flat land beyond it, but that's less likely, whereas here we can just do a left turn, left circuit and glide down. But as we get up into the lock proper, you can see it's even less options. So if we can crest the left, there's land that's flatter that we can land there. There's still some fields up just there left of the nose, or we'd have to try and get into that valley on the right, but that would be a higher risk maneuver. So 1047, and there you go, just below us down there to our left, that's Dorries, and then Loch Ness Beach. So that's our reference point. We're going to pass that, so it's 1047 now. It's going to probably change to 1048 just as we get there. And so Fort Augustus, if we maintain good pace, should be 9 minutes from now, so at around 10:57. Yeah, beautiful weather. We can definitely get up to our 4,500 feet, which will let us have ample altitude in the bank to use if we should lose the engine. So let's check. Fuel flow looks good, exhaust gas temperature is good, vacuum and ammeter amps charging oil pressures and temps look good. So let's 4,400. Let's start to level out. Excuse me. Traffic 12 o'clock high. My nostrils just constantly itching because it's so cold. The thing about VFR down this route, need to keep an eye out for other traffic who also are running this same route. So let's see if we can stay towards the left and bank. Let's just drift slightly to the left rather than right up the middle of the lock. So there are plenty of opportunity to put down over there. None over here. Well, we could do a right turn back there, but looks less appealing than over there. There's plenty of opportunities. Okay, so 4,500 feet. Level. Engine gauges look good. Just caught a bit of an updraft. It's going to be like this all the way through here. Got to look out for the Venturi effect through here as well. Got ground fog. Oh, it's not so much fog. Broken clouds. So we're just skirting on the bottom of the ceiling, but visibility is still good. You still see through it all the way. You see the end of Loch Ness where we've got Fort Augustus, but we can still see beyond that all the way up to Fort William. Winds are definitely making their presence felt or known. So what keeps moving? That cursor, like touching the mouse. Look at those colours over there. And the topography of the land is just so interesting. So once I've completed this leg, I'll be looking out to see if we can see all the way to Corran Point, and that'll be a good gauge of whether or not visibility's worsening. Oh, a little bit of buffeting. And then once we've completed this trip, I then have to make the decision of whether I continue the same exercise of reflying the FS Academy flights, but this time do the Voyager series and recreate those flights, or if I start practicing the practical lessons from the Vaccine P1 PPL series. Okay. Approaching Fort Augustus. Maintaining altitude, proving to be a challenge. The winds pushing us up and down, so see if we can try the other side. I did say I was going to fly up the left bank, but the right seemed to be stable, so let's cross and let's see if the wind's more pronounced. That's Fort Augustus down below. Right on schedule, so we're making good time. And then from here, cursor get lost. And from here up ahead you can then see the next visual reference point, which is Fort William. Still keeping an eye out, so down there plenty of opportunities to put down. We can glide and circle up here is where it gets more challenging. So you can see there's that slight plateau on the nose that we could possibly land. Other than that, across to the right, there's no options. There are no options, I should say. Grammar. And then any further off to the left, even less. So we want to maintain this altitude we've got in hand. Elevation around here is at 4,500 feet, so probably stand to get up to 5,000 feet. We wouldn't want to be below the peaks and blocked in without maneuvering room, so just gain a little bit more altitude. Don't know why. I wonder if the chart battery's gone on it. Excuse me. It's just warning me that we're above the altitude we'd set. Okay, so this leg is about 12 minutes. You can see Fort William right up there where the where the lock ends. So okay, we're breaking into the clouds now, but we can still see through them. Still see the ground. So we'll stay here at 5,000 feet. We won't push it. Eyes on stalks, just keeping an eye out for any other traffic. So yeah, so okay, starting to see a little bit of ice on the window, so let's turn on pitot heat. Make sure all the gauges are responding, make sure we've not got any blockages of any of the static vanes. Okay, so there we are. Still got good visual of the ground. Making good time. Got about 9 more minutes before we hit Fort William. The winds do seem quite calm on this side, so I'm going to stick with the right bank. Previously flying this route. Okay, let's make sure we don't. Oh, there we go. I was just going to say, previously flying this route, it's been quite noticeable when on the leeward side, the sudden negative rate of vertical speed. So we can still see through this cloud, still see the ground. Definitely don't want to venture any higher. But the plane's nice and stable. I don't want to go all the way to the other side and find that that's the leeward side, and all of a sudden maintaining altitude is problematic. So visibility's still good. All the gauges look good. And we're getting updrafts here, so I think the left bank definitely would be where we would have the down. Once we get up to Fort William, we can come down from 5,000 feet. There's much more space in the valley. It'll be warmer down there as well, so I can still see through this cloud, can still see the ground, can still see Fort William. We know at this altitude as well we're clearing the peak, but this is the weather that I won't say we're racing. We're not really racing it, but we want to stay ahead of. It's going to really close in about an hour. And particularly this section of the flight, visibility is going to drop. So about 5 more minutes, and then we should fly over Fort William. Okay, all the gauges look good in the green. Fuel looks good. Okay, see, widened out now, so we don't need to stay up here. We can come back down to 4,500. And now we've got all of these safe landing opportunities. 4,700. Got a frog in my throat. Here's Fort William, and we can see all the way up to Coron Point. So if you look at the lock ahead of us, just on the nose, so where we are approaching the northern shore, As you look further up to the southern shore, you'll see where the two banks are reaching out to touch each other. That's the current point. So on the right, that looks like their index finger pointing across the lot. That's our reference point. Yeah, I think that the right controller needs to be recharged. So let me take it off so I don't keep trying to use it. Okay, 4,500 feet. And there you are, Fort William. And then its current point just up ahead, that's our next reference point, which is, so it should be 4 minutes from here, but again, like I've said previously, the visual reference points are just so easily identifiable, and it's a pretty difficult leg or sequence of legs to get lost on, as long as you have good visibility. Because we can even see from here all the way out to Castle Stalker, so we see those land masses in the middle of the lark. Just beyond that larger one, there are 3 smaller islands behind it, and Castle Stalker is on the leftmost island, or islet. Once we get up to current point, we can start thinking about our descent. just look at this view. Okay, so there we go. Current point. We'll start a gradual descent as we head towards Castle Stalker. That's our descent point and our final fix before we will make the left turn to heading 187 or track 187 into open. And what we'll do first is do a recce, so we'll overfly the runway just to get bearings and situational awareness, check out what the weather looks like and feels like. And because we'll be arriving on into runway 19, it's almost like a short field landing. There's a land mass in the final approach path, so it needs to be a short base final turn and a right hand circuit over the water. A left hand circuit would pretty much box us into a cul-de-sac, as we have to make the left hand turn base final. And with the winds as they are today, don't really want to be playing around with gusts. But as it is, if the aircraft doesn't feel stable on the base and the final, we'll just do a go around until we can get it configured nice and stable. It's something I need to do more regularly rather than, I wouldn't say forcing the landing. It's just making sure that I'm comfortable that in adverse weathers that the aircraft is stable and I'm not chasing the controls. So again, that's it. Down to our left, current point. We're making good time. Castle Stalker is the next visual reference point. And I always think it's the larger islands that you can see right very clearly right now, but it's not. It's the smaller ones. So where you see that large, if you look here over the compass, you see that larger island. It's that one in between it and the large landmass. Actually, I lied to you. It's that one that you see on its right and rightmost bank. And you can just see that there's 1, 2, 3. There's a collection of islets behind it. So that's where we officially, that's our top of descent, but we're gradually getting down and need to start thinking about our approach checklist. So power is as desired. We're going to put mixture, we'll leave it as it is because we have a nice smoothly running engine. We'll go to full rich when it comes to before landing. Fuel selector is on both. Altimeter set. Nav GPS is set. Fuel selector, as I said, is both. Flaps, we don't need any at the moment. And then for before landing, just checking the pilots and passenger seats in the upright position. Fuel valve selector is set to both. We'll put the landing lights on now. Okay, weather's still glorious. It's cold, you can still see the icing on the windows. So being very, very conscious that the altimeter and airspeed are still functioning, it's not stuck. Airspeed says about 100 knots, and we're doing 105 ground speed on GPS, so that correlates. Vacuum looks good, ants charging, oil temps and pressures look good, exhaust gas temperature looks good, fuel flow looks good. Look at this. Now that we're not boxed in on both sides by mountains, excuse me, aircraft, look, I can take my hand off the yoke, it's just smooth, nice and stable. Okay, so we do have crosswinds from the left, so you can see that we're pointing pretty much 190 degrees heading, but our track is actually 202. Desired track is 214, but it's all good. So you see those little islands right there. So 1 just above the compass, 2, 3. That's our reference. And it's unlikely we'll be able to see Castle Stalker, but let's give it a go. But it's that one on the left. So you can see light is reducing. That cloud right there. And that's the weather that we're trying to stay ahead of. So you can see how already it's closing in. We just need to make sure we can get into Oban before it drops. So is that it? I always get confused. Is that Castle Stalker there? Yeah, I think that is it. It's not those. It is that one. There it is. So I get confused every single time. You can see it, Castle Stalker. That's our reference point. And so from here, it's a track then of 187. Continuing our descent, we'll arrest it here actually at 2,000 feet. So that we can clear that ridge line. I've been calling them crest lines, haven't I? That's just indicative of the mental load. Trying to look out for visual reference points, stay ahead of the aircraft, do my 6 stack scan or pack scan or gauge scan, but right there off the nose, that's what we're aiming for. So as you look beyond the ridge line, as it comes down to the right to the body of water, you can just about make out the runway. So visibility is still very good. But you can see why I want to do a right hand circuit, not left, because we'd have to come back towards this ridge line and be boxed in if we had to do a left hand circuit. Open traffic, Golf Bravo Echo Lima Victor, 2.5 miles to the north, 2,200 feet. Okay, so we've got a nice clear view. That is what we want to get ahead of before that descends and visibility around here becomes challenging. Don't want to be playing around with this approach. So now we can probably get down to about circuit entry altitude. Elevation here I think is 20. Let's double check it. Elevation, yeah, 24 feet. So circuit altitude is about 1,000. We'll go 1,100 for safety. Open traffic, Golf Bravo Echo Lima Victor, 1 mile to the north, entering the circuit overhead, 2,000 feet for an approach to runway 19 for full stop landing. There's no one else out here. Okay, so let's parallel the runway, pass overhead. Okay, mixture full rich, fuels selected to both, shut off valve is in, landing lights are on, magneto set to both, gauges all look good. We won't do flaps yet. Okay, those houses are our visual reference so that we don't get lost, lose situational awareness in the circuit. Okay. Open traffic, Golf Bravo Echo Lima Victor overhead, 2,000 feet, entering the pattern, upwind, right hand circuits, landing runway 19. Okay, so now we can start the descent. We'll wait until the speed comes down so you can see the winds now and the impact. There you go. So open traffic, Golf Bravo Echo Lima Victor, turning right, crosswind, runway 19, 1,700 feet. Okay. So now, flaps 10 degrees. We'll use that landmass as our downwind. Open traffic, Golf Bravo Echo Lima Victor, turning downwind, runway 19. Okay, so mixture is at full rich, fuel selector set to both, flaps 10 degrees. We'll put landing gear down, although it's already fixed and down. Okay, 1,500 feet. So look at the winds now. This is what don't want to be playing around with these winds if visibility drops. So keep it nice and stable. Stay ahead of the plane. $1,250. So it's pretty much short field, so we're going to go to 30 degrees flat. Open traffic, Golf Bravo Echo Lima Victor, turning right, base, runway 19. Okay. Mixture full rich. Fuel valve selected on both. Shut off in. Gauges, instruments all good. 1,100 feet. Okay, so we want to get the airspeed down, maintain a nice stable profile. Open traffic, Golf Bravo Echo Lima Victor, turning final, runway 19, full stop landing. Okay, need to make sure we maintain enough clearance over trees. You can see how we need to drop onto the runway threshold. Make sure full rich, fuel valve set to both, gear down, and locked. And you can see the winds. Just really moving the plane around. Throttle to idle. Apply brakes. Oh, cursor looking at my face. And that is it. Internet decided to play it right at the end, but you can see, look at the windsock crosswinds that we're dealing with. Taxi lights can come on. Landing lights can come off. And we're going to go straight to the fuel box. Flaps can come up. Open traffic, Golf Bravo Echo Lima Victor, clear runway 19. There we are. Parking brake set. Okay. Go throttle 100%. Make sure to idle cut off. Okay, close throttle. Cool. So now transponder come off, radios come off. Wheel chocks in place, tie downs, place, pitot cover in place, cowl plugs on. And now we can turn off. Okay. Put tank selector to right. Avionics can come off. Pitot key can come off. Strobe off, nav lights off, taxi lights off. Ignition off. Beacon can come off. Main power can come off.